Hi everyone and welcome to this evening's webinar, Careers in VFX. I'm Claire Vandenbroek. I'm on the admissions team at Escape Studios, and tonight we're at MPC and we've got two guest speakers joining us. We've got Ben Owens, who's the Global Head of Recruitment at MPC, and Anna Swift, who's the Recruitment and Talent Development Manager for Film at Framestore. Now, Ben and Anna will be talking about skill demands, career prospects, and sharing their top tips on how to produce that killer show reel to help launch your career in the VFX industry. Now, after an introduction from both Ben and Anna, we'll move on to some questions, which you guys have kindly submitted. And if we have time, we'll take questions from anybody watching. So please feel free to submit them via the questions box. I'll be back at the end to tell you what's happening here at Escape and about the training we provide. But for now, I will hand over to Ben.
Thank you. So I'm Ben Owen. I have been working in recruitment for well over 10 years, the last 8 years of which have been spent specifically looking after recruitment for visual effects. I've been working for small boutique studios right up to the large VFX houses, and where I am now is MPC. I'm Global Head of Recruitment, looking after all hiring across MPC's multiple locations. MPC as a studio has been around for well over 30 years. Working across TV advertising and film, my responsibility is primarily looking after the film side of it. Working mainly in London. London's our biggest hub, but we also have visual effects for film done out of Vancouver, Bangalore and Montreal. Over the last few years, we've seen MPC grow beyond all recognition to now having over 1,200 employees globally.
Thanks very much, Ben. I'll hand over to Anna.
Hi everyone, my name's Anna. I'm the Recruitment and Talent Development Manager at Framestore. So I work on the film side of the business, and my role is to recruit talent into the company at all levels across all disciplines. I also look after all the development of the junior members of staff, so the runners, trackers, paint and roto artists, work out how we can progress them through the company, ensure they have the right skill sets that we need, that sort of thing. So Framestore has been around since the mid-80s. We're super big at the moment, about 1,100 artists globally. So our main headquarters are in London. We also have offices in LA and New York, which focuses on the commercial side of the business. And the Montreal office opened last year, and that's purely film related. We've had a very, very busy year this year. Obviously, we won the Oscar for Gravity, which was amazing. And we're really, really looking to continue to bring talent into the company from junior level upwards.
Brilliant, thanks very much. Okay, so obviously we've got some questions here, so I'm just going to kind of ask them, and please feel free to share the answers between you. So we've got a question from David. He's asking, if we can produce the result in any software, will the company still consider us for the job, even if they don't use that particular software?
I'll go for that one. So software is definitely important for a studio. I would say the primary softwares here at MPC are Maya, Nuke, RenderMan. So having familiarity with any combination of the softwares we already use is an advantage. But we also have a host of proprietary toolkits that have been designed in-house. So coming into certain departments at MPC, you won't have the access to those tools. Therefore, you'll have to learn them from scratch anyway. We look for potential. We do have a lot of in-house training to get candidates up to speed. When a candidate doesn't have the software skills, as long as we have the time, then there's nothing to stop us from bringing them in and training them up.
And that's exactly the same for Framestore. You know, we find the software is an add-on, really. It's more about the work that an artist can produce, no matter what software it's on. And as Ben says, you know, we offer full training. And you know, the majority of softwares, there's the odd tweak between them that make them different, but they're all, you know, they're all doing the same thing. So people tend to pick them up quite quickly.
Excellent.
Certainly at the junior level, if someone does have the software that we use, it will make it easier in the long run for us to bring them in-house.
Yeah.
And candidates also need to consider the fact that we have hundreds of applications coming in every week, and anything they can do to better their chances of fitting in with a studio is going to be an advantage.
It also depends on what time of a project we're hiring. If it's right at the end at crunch time, obviously we do rely on people to know the software so they can just sort of come in and hit the floor running and get on with it. If it's early on in the project, then as Ben said, you know, you've got a bit more luxury of training time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Excellent. Okay, let's go to a question from Sam Serridge. Are there more freelance opportunities for concept artists, or are there still a broad range of full-time roles out there suited to them?
For Framestore, we have a concept art department at Framestore. It's mainly made up of staff positions, the people that stay at Framestore for the duration, but we also hire people in for specific projects as freelancers. Some of our concept artists can also matte paint as well, so what we like to do is hire people, you know, on a long-term contract, and if ever it's a bit quiet in concept, then they might do a bit of matte painting just to sort of fill the gaps. So yeah, I mean, the concept team is very small at Framestore, so there's not really the volume there compared to, say, compositors, for example, but there are still opportunities, both short-term and long-term.
I'd agree with that completely. At MPC, the in-house art department is relatively small compared to the other departments. However, we do have an extensive contact list of freelancers. In fact, it's one of the only departments that still uses freelancers in the traditional sense of the word, in that we'll bring somebody in for a project, as Anna was saying, and have them work for maybe a matter of days at a time, sometimes remotely. So for concept art, there are freelance opportunities, certainly.
Excellent. Okay, let's go to a question from Will Jones. This is via Twitter at 360effects, and he's asking, as the industry is constantly growing and getting more competitive, is it getting harder to find a job?
The industry is definitely growing faster than it's ever grown before, certainly in the last few years. All of the London studios have doubled or even trebled in size. There are bigger projects coming up all the time, and with that are more opportunities. So whether it's harder to find a job, I would say there's more opportunity now than there ever has been. So it's a good time for graduates and candidates in general to be looking to enter visual effects.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always going to be competitive because the level that we require to come into all of our studios is so very high. But I think, you know, the more people listen to what studios need in terms of softwares and style of work and stuff like that will really help people, and also having realistic expectations as well. So, you know, someone might finish at Escape or finish a university course and say, yeah, I definitely want to be a creature modeler and nothing else. Chances are that's not how you're going to get in straight away. So,
yeah.
you know, it's best for people not to rule themselves out by being a bit too picky.
Yeah, I see. That's some good advice. Now, I've got one from Skylar, again via Twitter. How do you get into feature film from TV commercial experience?
Have a good show reel.
That's what it does come down to. It's all about the work that candidates put forward, and a huge amount of skills are transferable whether you're working in advertising or film. I think both of our studios cater for advertising and film, and we do have crossover. Often it comes down to the artist's preference as to where they want to go, but in terms of what we look for somebody who wants to be involved in a feature project, which is often much longer term, and someone needs to understand exactly what's involved. Advertising projects are often shorter, and somebody can move easily from one to another. Someone coming from a generalist background who wants to move into film may need to specialize. Certainly from MPC's point of view, we have a department-based structure, and all artists within that discipline are seated together. In order to get to the skill level needed for film work, you'll have to be specialized. You certainly won't have the opportunity to do more than one task on a project, you may spend 6 or 8 months purely animating those shots.
Yeah, it's exactly the same at Framestore, really. I mean, I think some of the smaller studios do hire, and some of the bigger studios hire generalist TDs, so that would be quite a straightforward transition, because obviously in commercials people tend to be a bit more generalist. But it's not impossible, but as Ben says, you do have to focus on one particular area and sort of hone your skills in that area. And then once you're in, then then that's when you can sort of move around. Our asset build team at Framestore, so the modelers, some of them can texture as well, and we let them do both when we can. But it is pretty much separated for departments.
Yeah.
When it comes to either transitioning across from more of an advertising background or from outside the industry, it's about making sure that as an artist you can show your potential, that your show reel helps us to see how you as an artist would fit in within the film side of the business. If you can do that, then we can bring you on board.